Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Force for Growth podcast. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Courtney. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about change. That crazy subject. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it, but we are going to break it down. So let's get started.
So, change, Courtney.
Change.
Change, 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 change,
Changes. Yeah.
changes, change, change, change,
Yeah. How many
change,
songs
change,
can we come up with
change.
in like a few seconds? That's
Oh,
funny.
my goodness. We could have a whole episode on how many songs we can come up with the topic about change,
We need
Courtney.
to do that,
But,
like a personal development trivia show. Yeah. Anyway,
oh,
working on it.
let's put that in the books. Let's
Yeah.
save that for later. However, here's the deal with change. We're on episode this right here. What you're listening to, what you're watching is actually episode 147.
Yeah.
147. 1 year ago, coming up on June 1st, we posted the revamped Force for Growth on iTunes and all of the podcasting platforms, including YouTube. So we're also on YouTube.
Mhm.
And now we're here 1 year later at 147 episodes, creeping
Can't
up on 150, which will be on Tuesday on our anniversary.
Yeah. That'll
And
it's just gonna
over
be
the
crazy.
last year, how much change have we gone through, Courtney?
That is an understatement to even try to answer that question. So we didn't even anticipate what we needed to change yet, you know? We just knew we wanted to change something, shake things up and start something. And then the real test began, right?
Change is scary, though. Change is
It is.
scary. So, man, here's the thing with the podcast is that we flow, right?
Mhm.
So, my dentist, Alexandra Morel, Smiles by Morel, big shout out. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that before we go back to the podcast.
Okay.
Because she was one of the people that instilled a lot of fear in me with some changes that are coming up when I went to the dentist. So, braces is always something that I've talked about, right? I've
Mhm.
always thought about it. Oh, yeah, it would be nice to have some braces,
Yeah.
but I never really took it seriously. Well, when you bring it up to your dentist, they take it seriously. So they were like, "Oh, let's go see it. Let's go have the consult. Let's go talk about it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, whatever, no big deal,
And then
right?" And
did you
then the
already
next thing
sign
I
up an
know, they're
agreement to get
like,
them done and book the
"Yeah." The
appointment?
next thing I know, I'm like, "Okay, it's starting to become a reality. Do
Mhm.
I want braces? Do I not want braces?" And like this feeling of torment came through me of like, "Do I really need braces? I'm in my mid 40s. I have no need to get braces." And then it was a lot of like it was a very tough decision for me, which I'm proud and slash interested to say that because I didn't
Mhm.
think it would be that big of a decision for me.
That's an interesting point.
But
Yeah.
it was all revolved around what? Change.
Yeah.
Change. Like, whoa, is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna be painful? What's it gonna feel like? What am I gonna look like? What are people going to think?
Yeah. That most important one. That's
Correct.
sarcasm, but
What's
that
Ricardo
tends to
trying to
be the
do getting braces
yeah,
at 45, 46
because the
years
world
old?
loves him how he looks now, you guys. Like, he doesn't need to do this for any reason except for if it makes him feel better, it makes him feel better, and we all gotta
Correct.
value what others do to make themselves feel better, whether we agree or not.
So I
So
went through all these phases of change, right? Oh, this and that. What will happen if this? What will happen if that? What happens here? What happens there? What? Oh, and all these thoughts. I was like, wow, why am I so resistant to
change.
is
Because it's
instead of just
scary.
going for it?
That's why. I'll say it, it's scary. It's
And I
not
feel that
always rainbows and sunshine.
no, it's not. And I feel that's what we've gone through in the last 147 episodes too. Just
Yes.
like getting braces. Ah, what are people going to think? Those thoughts have crossed our minds on several occasions. What are we doing here? Why are we
Mhm.
even talking about this stuff? Should we even be talking about this
Does
stuff?
anyone even care? Yeah,
Yeah,
we could
like
keep
all
going
this
with these.
stuff. We could keep going on and on and on. And we're like, wait a second, let's just do what we do, Courtney.
Yeah. And that's the part that blows me away about our number 150 coming up because I'm a big fan of the Mile Higher podcast and Kendall and Josh do. And it's if you're into true crime or anything like that, it's a fascinating one. But yeah, and looking on there, it's like number 167 or number 170 something. And I remember having that thought and I was like, wow, they've been at this a long, long time. Like I admire them. They stuck with it. And then you tell me that, hey, next week will be 150. And I was like, what? Like, what?
Right.
Really? Already? And it's crazy because it just required a few simple changes a
Changes.
year ago that here we are now. And it's just, it's great because we have a stronger vision and we have more of a mission than we started with. You know, we always had a mission behind what we were doing, but it's just only strengthened and grown and now it's been polished and now we've gotten more skills in some other areas, you know. So it's just really cool to watch it happen in real time and man, just a reminder, like your goal is not that far out. Like here we are, like thinking to have hundreds of episodes, you need to been doing a podcast for years and years. And you know, maybe we did do it more frequently, but who cares? Who cares? It's not a comparison, you know. And so I don't know. That's a little detail that meant a lot to me. So
I will say this, we did have a very aggressive goal. We started at 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday during the pandemic 2020, and we really wasn't doing that much then. There wasn't
yeah.
that much going on, so it was pretty easy to do 3 days a week, right?
Mhm.
And then once things started to open up, it started to get a little bit more complicated and challenging to come up with topics and to talk and this and that, right? And
Mhm.
there've been some changes on the structure of the podcast, the format, and different little changes that if you go back on YouTube, they're all up there on YouTube from June 1st, 2020. Everything
Yeah.
is up there so you can see where we were, right?
Mhm.
And I've on the podcast itself on the Apple, I've deleted some stuff and kind of cleaned some stuff up there, but everything is on YouTube and it will stay on YouTube because that's part of our history.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
it's
can go
just
watch all
interesting
the
to
bad
me.
sound beginning episodes.
Yeah, like the sound and everything, the backgrounds, the logos, all of it. And it's interesting to me because it was just a whole bunch of little changes that we've just been pushing through and that we decided to stick to, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know, Courtney. It's a very aggressive goal. I'm glad that we did it. We grew so much from it,
Yeah.
right? And here after episode 150, we're gonna change again. There's
Yeah.
gonna be a new format, some new things coming next week. We're gonna do a few new things, try some new things out. And it's all under the umbrella of that wonderful word
Change.
change.
Yeah. And I'm excited about these new ventures. And if we hadn't jumped in, I don't know if I'd be excited. I might be nervous or overwhelmed or, you know, panicked. But looking back, it's a lot of the episodes, it actually was what we were going through in our actual lives, whether we said it on the episode or not. A lot of
Correct.
our content is we come up with it because we're going through it, you know. And then a lot of it is, you know, it became habit and it became part of our schedule. And here we are. We're just having to look at some things, right? Take inventory, what's working, what's not, what could work better, and just make the small changes to make it happen. So I did want to bring up a good point. Our dear friend Dean Lindsay, change is not always progress.
Hmm.
Change is always happening. Progress is not always happening. So pay attention. But I wanted to throw that concept out there because I love it.
Have we
Change
made
is inevitable.
progress? Do you see us that we've been making progress on the podcast?
I do. Yes. Yes. Because it a lot of progress in a lot of different things.
So here's the thing. Here's where I'm going with this, if you will, is yes, we've been making progress on the podcast, but I don't think it's the podcast that has been prompting the progress. Now I'm trying to see how many P's in a row I can say. No, I'm just playing. But no, in all seriousness, I don't think that the podcast is what's been prompting the progress. We've been progressing
That's a good point.
as people along this journey.
Yeah.
We've been progressing on our skills on how we talk and communicate and come across on the camera.
Hmm. Yes. That
And
took practice, another P.
correct. And in turn, because we're making progress on ourselves, where we're improving our skills, where we're improving our microphones, where we're improving all these different little things, by default, the podcast has no choice but to make progress.
That's a good point. Yeah.
None, none. But who
Yeah.
did it start with?
It started with us.
Yes,
Yeah.
it always starts with us. The change and the progress always starts with us.
That
Because if
was
we would have,
something I jotted
yeah,
down.
if we would have not learned anything over the last 146 episodes, uh,
Pretty sure we would have quit by now if we had stayed stagnant to where we were a year ago. Maybe not because pretty persistent, but it wouldn't
it
be
would have
as
been
much.
rough.
Yeah.
It would have been a rough journey.
A
Let's
lot more
just put it
stressful of a
that way.
process and not as fun and creative as it has been.
Correct, correct. It would have definitely not have been a fun process, but the way that
Yeah.
we went about it, it's been fun and energetic, and we've been doing what we have to do the way that we need to do it.
Hmm.
But it
And
all
really honored
started
how
with
we
us.
wanted to do it. Really honored ourselves as we grew. That's a big part of it. We didn't just honor and guess what the audience wants. It always has stayed firm to know this is how we want to do it. This is what we want to, come across. But you walked right into my next point because I did jot it down. And really, it's just one line I want to make sure we all know, but we have to change into what we want. Like the
Mm,
world is not going to change around you. It's not. It's not. But if you begin to change the world, your immediate world. Okay, I just thought of this. So something you told me years ago, and basically, I'm sitting here going on this speech about how I'm going to change the world. I just don't know what to do. I'm trying to find my passion. I'm trying to this, and I don't know. One of those conversations where probably was sitting on like the same goal for 5 years and I never did anything, but I couldn't see it was me holding myself back anyway. So point being, I'm running my mouth to Ricardo and I'm like, I just want to change the world. I'm so frustrated. I just want to do something. And he was like, okay, so start with you. Start with your family, start with your home, start with your community, start with your zip code, start with your state. Start or not start there, but like you got to follow, like it's not just going to be overnight you've changed the world. Worldwide success. That's not going to happen. But what you can do is start with you. See how it affects your immediate family. See how it affects your environment at work. Oh, that's working. Take the feedback, right? Take feedback and note what doesn't work, get better. And then eventually you have a community. And then eventually you're confident enough to maybe give a speech on something. So it's all relative and it's all just right there, but you got to start with you. And I will never forget that conversation. I remember it as a lot more comical than it's coming across now because he didn't say it nicely, but I wouldn't have heard him if he did, to be fair. So, but
well, we got
that,
to promote change, right? That
yeah.
was part of it. I just, one of the things that I noticed, and I'm a very observant person, I like to see what people do and just go from there, right? Because that's where it starts. It's just seeing what people do and their behaviors on social media because we have a little window to their lives.
Mhm.
Of course, it's all relative to what they post, but we still have a little window. And one of the things I noticed was people just get so inspired, which is great. I love people who are inspired. I love people who want to do big things. But it's always like, oh, yes, I'm going to end world hunger. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to impact millions and millions of people. Okay. But
What about that veteran down your street that needs
yeah,
needs a few extra meals a week? You could help
yeah,
there.
you can help there. It doesn't have to be this big thing, right? And I'm not saying that people don't do it, and I'm
Right.
not definitely not saying that people are not capable of executing that type of change
Right.
or growth. What I am saying is that it sounds good on social media to say something like that sometimes. And people are like, "Yes, that's so inspiring. That's so great. Yay, you go." But what are you doing in your own community? What are you doing in your own household? What are you doing in your
Mhm.
own relationships?
Mhm. Exactly.
I
Are you
mean,
showing up for yourself as basic as it is? How
correct,
can you meet the
correct,
needs of somebody else, the basic needs of other humans, if you aren't paying attention to your own needs?
correct. And just like how we've grown as people, and by turn that has grown the podcast and how we're talking and our messages over the last year, when you grow as a person in your immediate area, in your community, in your relationships, in your friendships, and how you go about your own daily life, by default, you're one step closer to making that global change that you're talking about.
Mhm. Yeah. If I am willing to show up in front of you, Ricardo, and change and do better and admit that I'm not perfect in this area or admit that I'm failing. But basically, like, if I grow and you're watching me or your children are watching me or whoever's around me, it gives that person permission to look inside and be honest with themselves or to be honest with what they're good at and they need to pursue, And so it's so empowering that we can change. Like, isn't it beautiful we're not trees with roots? Like, I'm being
Jim
dead
Rohn.
serious. Yeah, exactly. Like, that is an amazing, amazing thing. We can just pick up and go. Like, nothing ties us anywhere. We're humans. We have free will. Might not always be the best decision to up and go, but it's just the freedom is in the change. And so, but it's up to you to direct it to just default change. It's going to happen either way. Usually it's not the good stuff. Or is this going to be progress? And that takes intentional effort. If you just kind of let it be on default mode's not real empowering. Let's just say that.
No,
It
not
just
at
doesn't
all.
get you what you want. But it's I don't know. I love that, and I love, yeah, Jim Rohn, any of Jim Rohn's books. But I mean, just look him up on YouTube. And there's one particular seminar that's 8 hours long that he did in Dallas in the '80s. That's my favorite. So just listen to it. But I mean,
All about change.
you can just you literally just change into more of what you want to be, even if it's just 1% is all you're capable today to do. Cool, do it again tomorrow. Do it again tomorrow. And hey, when your skills are better and you're able, go to 2, 3, 4, 5% a day. Get it, and just keep going. And then same conversation like we're talking about the podcast. One day you're going to look up and you're going to be proud of what you're doing. Whether the world is proud of you or not, you will
Mm,
be. You will be. And that's what makes the most difference in actually changing your life is your level of pride. We've been insecure our whole lives, y'all. We've been running this loop and catering to what other people think of us for years. Maybe it's time to make ourselves proud and see what
or what we
happens.
think of ourselves.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, should I really be doing that? Do I have any business doing this? Do I have any business talking about that or going into that space?
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And we're talking a little bit about 1%. And I have a post out there on my Facebook about 1%, and the conversations are getting very interesting. But that's for another
Oh,
episode.
I need to go read that.
That's
Yeah.
another episode because
Jesse said,
I'm kind of feeling a certain way about 1% of growth, but that's
okay.
coming. That's
Okay,
coming.
we'll address that. Clearly, we have not had that conversation.
We have not
Okay,
had that
Jesse
conversation.
said 1% every day will become big changes over time. And then your dentist, she's talking. I'm going to let you take that one, but
Woo. Let's see
Alessandra's
here.
given us some good
Alexandra
value.
Morel. Make sure you go see her if you're in the Dallas area. Smiles by Morel. She's fixing to do some good work here. My big change that I resisted for a couple of weeks, CrossFit. That is a big change. That's a
Mhm.
huge change. And she used, what's the key word there? Resisted.
Yeah.
We're so resistant of change. Like,
Takes energy to resist things, you guys.
it sure does. Like, man, when I wanted to change the logo here in the background, I was like, oh, what are people going to think of this bright yellow and purple? Um, I was too concerned not to be the right fit.
Mhm.
That's a big one. Are we
Yeah.
too concerned? Just that sentence. I was too concerned not to be the right fit.
Yeah, that resonates with a lot.
It does. It does. I know that we've had conversations where you were concerned if you were the right fit for this podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's a very common thing. Not able, not be the right fit, not to be able to perform. She's the only one that's ever felt that way. No one else. I'm
Right?
not talking
This
to
is
anyone
just
here.
you, Alessandra.
My sister told me to just go. I finished last month of the time. I don't look like the fit ladies and me in there. I will say this. Alec, when you go see Alexandra, she's the cutest thing ever. I'll say that. I see her behind the mask, but her eyes just glow, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. Just put me under and do the work that we got to do.
I trust you. Just smile
But
at
I
me.
have to embrace the change. You have to embrace the change.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just gonna get stuck. When I went, everyone realized I am new and I am trying to change, and the ladies are being very supportive. That's what happens. But you
Yeah.
have to be there. People want to see you change, especially in those types of areas. I wanted to see Courtney change. I
Oh,
supported Courtney's change. I support anyone's change who wants to grow. Embrace the change. After 2 days of exercising there, I feel as I have already won, just overcoming the challenge.
boom. Yeah. After 2 days, she feel like she already won. Like, how powerful is that? Ugh, I get so excited about this stuff. Yes. Thank you,
Yes.
Alexandra, for sharing that.
And that's also
It's,
the power of community and teaming up with the right people.
hmm yes. And I did want to, okay. So when we're feeling resistant to change, I did make this note or just a reminder our brain's job is not to keep us happy. Our brain's job is just to do two things. And this pops up a lot in change. Okay. It's just asking one, will this kill me? Whatever's coming to mind, or two, does this fit a pattern I've seen before? So it'll relate it to some kind of experience or emotion you had in your past, and you maybe have a bad memory tied to it, because your brain will literally delete, distort, and generalize to make it fit a pattern you've seen. Like, it'll lie to you to say you've seen this before, and it's just like your ex and this and that, or some BS. So just a heads up, when you are having that resistance to change, if it is focused around the fear and will it kill me? What will people think? What will this? What will the saber-tooth tiger eat me that's running behind me? All these fearful thoughts, or if it's about trying to relate it to something in your past, just push through it. Push through it. That's just ego talking. That's just ego talking. So
For
do
sure.
listen to the feedback and pay attention in life. But those two things are telltale red flags that the ego's running your process right now. And it's not the most empowering way to go about it, especially change.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And the community. I like that Alexandra and Jesse here are talking about community. Jesse says people want to help others that want help.
Yeah, that's
Let me
extremely
read that again. People want to help others that want help. If
true.
you don't want the help, mm,
Yeah.
you might as well just forget about it. Don't be looking for help if you don't really want the help.
Yeah.
Don't be really looking for someone to help you change if you don't want to change.
Maybe don't really be looking for an accountability partner if you haven't learned to be accountable yourself yet.
Boom.
We love you. um, so,
Oh man. But it's
okay.
so but
Yeah,
community is such a big part of change, Courtney. I
it
couldn't
is
have done
huge.
this without you. You've helped me change over the last year. So has Lavie and Michelle Martini. We've gone
Mhm.
through several phases of these recordings over the last year since we started posting to YouTube. And I'm definitely grateful for everyone that's been part of this over the last year. And you've been the big part of it, Courtney.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy of where we are because I'm just like, okay, well, Courtney's doing this, so now I got to step up my game. You
I
know,
received that. Thank you. I did, I always, as a lifelong Tony Robbins fan, and, this and that. And when I went to my first event, but I will say to this day, the greatest gift I ever got out of that was not those lessons. It was the community
Mm,
and the family that I now have because
yeah.
of how I stepped out and was willing to go for it. And I was rewarded with you guys. So
Community
thank you for that.
promotes change. That's
Yes.
probably one of the fastest ways to inhibit change is to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah,
Community promotes change.
absolutely.
Slash Ricardo,
Oh,
2021.
I was about to say the year. Oh, okay. That cracks me up. Well, this was a great chat.
It
I
was
think,
good.
I love looking at change in positive ways.
I know, right?
Yeah.
147. Two
I
more to
know.
go, and we'll be at 150 on June 1st next Tuesday. Yes.
Does that mean we've actually made it? We haven't really discussed when we've made it, so we're just winging it still.
We're
So,
just winging it. It's just a milestone, 150.
yeah, I'm
Either
excited.
way, you're
150
right.
and 1 year anniversary once we picked our name.
Yes. Either way, you're right. We're gonna have talk a little bit more about the history about the show next week on Tuesday, June 1st. We're gonna
Yeah.
really go dive deep into the last year. But you're right, Courtney. This was a great episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at
Force for growth, and always remember to be a force for good
A Force for Growth.
and a force for greatness.
Bye,
Thanks, everybody.
everybody. Oh, where's the button? There it is.